Hey, this is Sky. Welcome to my YouTube channel. Let's just tell some stories tonight. It's Sunday night. I talk about this in one of the chapters of a book that I just wrote, the latest book that I just finished. It's being edited right now, and I'm trying like crazy to get the editor to finish so I could go into a publishing process and then be able to offer it to you guys, sell it to you guys. If you're interested in chapter 1 of my latest book, The Art of Survival, Building Strength Through Suffering, you can go to my website at skyazrael.com and follow the link. I'll send you just through the email chapter 1 for free, and you can check out what the book is about. Each chapter starts off with a story from my life, and if you subscribe to this channel, I got lots of stories about my life. And then I go into a particular topic, and then at the end of each chapter, I give tips and tricks, helpful stuff for lifestyle management. In the book, I talk about my life and my upbringing as a kid. When I was, I guess I was about 10 years old. I may have been a little younger even. I was young. I was about 10. I joined a gang in the apartment projects that I lived in. It was the first organized gang that I ever joined. I had a choice to join, but there was a lot of pressure. All the kids that I met had been in it. I joined a neighborhood, it was a community soccer team that was organized out of the community rec center that the projects had. It was a big projects, and a lot of the neighborhood kids did it. My mom encouraged me to do it because I would meet some of the neighborhood kids, and it was a way to just get me out of the fucking apartment during the summertime. And I liked playing soccer. Every kid back in those days played soccer. This was 1980, late 70s, 79, 1980, somewhere around there. All the kids on the soccer team were involved in the neighborhood gang. It existed within the projects. The gang ranged from like a little baby gang of little 10-year-olds all the way up to teenagers, which to us looked like adults. It was well organized. I had to be jumped in. It was after practice one day. We were down on the field. The soccer field was not too far. It was at the apartment complex. They had a soccer field at the apartment complex. So we didn't have to go, we could just walk to practice and then all walk back to our apartments. We didn't have to be dropped off by our parents or anything. And they took me to the edge of the woods. There's about 6 boys, kids that I knew. They took me to the edge of the woods. In the field, right at the edge of the woods, they jumped me. They told me the deal that you got to last for a certain amount of time, and we're gonna beat you up. We're gonna throw some blows on you. So these guys are hitting me. They're all chumps. I was a pretty big 10-year-old. This one kid, Igor, he was bigger than me. He pushed me down hard. The punches, these kids didn't know how to punch. 10-year-olds don't know how to punch. Igor pushed me down real hard, knocked the wind out of me. And I was just like, ugh. They didn't start stomping me or nothing like that. Igor, the biggest kid there, he had been involved in these jumping ins before. Every kid was jumped in. So after they got done with me, there's no bruises, nothing like that. It's just little kids. Part of the initiation, I thought that was it. They're like, oh no, we're gonna go in the woods here. And they had a little clubhouse in the woods, set up with plywood and shit. Magazines in there, comic books. They had a stash of pornos, like Playboys and Penthouses, and then a stash of comic books. We went into the woods and they had me smoke a menthol cigarette. And I had to inhale. They had to watch me. So I'm sitting there, and I'd never smoked a cigarette before. It was awful. It was like a Cool or a Newport, some sort of menthol fucking stupid cigarette. And I'm trying to hit it, and they're all like, yeah, you know, do it. That was the worst part of the whole initiation. The fight was nothing, not a scratch. I got sick off of the cigarette, off of inhaling it. I got a head rush and maybe dizzy. I didn't throw up, but I got nauseous, and I had to go home. And I was just like, I'm out, guys. I gotta go home and lie down. And they were like, oh, man, you know, where you going? We're gonna have fun. And I was just like, you know, I'm sick. That cigarette's terrible. I went home, crashed out at the house. The next day, basically, when I emerged back out to the playground, mind you, I'm 10 years old. I was a full-fledged member of the gang. We all had little bicycles. I had a BMX bike. It was a Ross. Was it a Ross? When I had the Ross or a Kent? I had a couple shitty ones until I got a Mongoose, and then I had a PK Ripper, and you know, I got better with my BMX bikes as I got older. By the time I was like 13 or so, or 14, I had a pretty cool BMX bike that I customized. But I think when I was living in those projects, I still had that Kent. People would tease me. That Kent was terrible. My mom bought it from like Toys R Us or something. It was awful. But it was a bike. And we all rode our bikes in packs. They had a hustle. Little baby gang. They had a hustle. They had their own racket. Legit. We carried, I was issued a screwdriver. And we would sharpen the screwdrivers. Some people had Phillips heads, some people had flatheads, but we sharpened our screwdrivers on the sidewalk. And sit there for hours, sharpen them on the sidewalk until they're nice and pointy. And we practiced throwing them into the trees and got pretty good at it. Where they like, you know, just hitting those trees perfectly. I could, at 10 years old, I could throw a fucking sharpened screwdriver dead on into the tree. So we used them as intimidation, pull them on somebody, they try to fuck with you. But we mainly used them as tools to break into the storage units that existed at the bottom of each building. In the entire apartment complex was all brick buildings that were 3 stories high, I think, maybe 4, 3 or 4 stories high, each one the same layout. In the bottom of each apartment building, they had a trash room, a laundry room, and a storage room. The storage room was just a corridor with one door on one side that you go in from the laundry room, from the main area, and then the other side would usually have a couple steps leading outside the building. So there was 2 exits through the storage corridor. In that corridor of storage units, they were fairly cheaply fabricated with chicken wire separating each little cubicle, and they had framed in doors with wood, and you could put your padlock over it, and people would put their crap in there. Every apartment in the projects got one. It came with your unit. Not everybody used them. Not all the units in the apartment complex were rented out, so there were empty ones. We used empty ones all throughout the complex as our own little clubhouses. We had clubhouses and little hideouts, little hangouts all throughout the place. But what we do with the screwdrivers is we would rip open the fucking chicken wire and rob those storage units. At 10 years old, I got introduced on how to rob. I was taught how to do it, how to break them open, how to rob. We need to look out, the whole thing. And then on the first day we did it, I stole a Hungry Hungry Hippo toy from some kid who wasn't playing with it anymore. I sat out in front of my fucking building for a week playing that Hungry Hungry Hippo by myself. I have a whole lot of friends. But I was happy as a motherfucker. I went to an official gang meeting for the gang, and it wasn't just the baby gangsters. It was the teenagers and the grown kids. I was shocked. I was told that there's a fight at the basketball courts. The basketball courts were a little bit across the other side of the the apartment complex, over near Igor's house, Igor's apartment. Igor's mom sucked. Igor's mom would always give you prune juice. Fucking prune juice sucked. But we meet at the basketball courts to watch this fight. It's mandatory, everybody has to show up. I couldn't believe how many kids of all ages. The basketball courts were packed. People were everywhere. More than 100 kids. Packed. All ages. Lots of bigger kids. And the bigger kids had muscles. This one black kid, older guy, much, much older. You know, as far as I was concerned, he could have been my mother's age, but he obviously wasn't. He's probably 17, who knows. He takes his shirt off, this guy's jacked. Looks like to me, as a 10-year-old, he looked like fucking Arnold Schwarzenegger. I doubt he was that big at all, but that's what he looked like to me. Some other kid comes out and out of the crowd, and they get into a fight. And they fight it out, throwing punches, and it's a violent fight with blood and everything. And the one guy, the black guy won. He won the fight. The other guy taps out. He's like, I'm done. That's it. After the fight, the leader of the gang comes out, which he was watching. And he was also a muscular guy, had his shirt off. A lot of people walk around without their shirts on. And he gave a very passionate speech that went on for, maybe 10 minutes. And he was incredibly animated, giving this speech to the troops, telling everybody what's happening, what's going down, what the deal is. And then we all went our ways, our separate ways. I left those projects about a year later and just moved to a different area. It was on to a new adventure. But that changed me. That experience started me off on a whole life of trouble. I was a good boy before that. That was where it all changed. Thanks for watching.